My name is Asher Layton. I'm 38 years old, and I work as a senior financial analyst for a mid-sized investment firm in downtown Chicago. For the past 6 years, I've been living what I thought was the American dream. Steady $145,000 salary, a nice condo in Lincoln Park, and most importantly, engaged to a woman I believed was my soulmate. Coraline Carlisle was everything I thought I wanted. 31 years old when we met. Stunning, with that effortless confidence that made heads turn when we walked into any restaurant on Michigan Avenue. We met at a charity gala in November 2019, one of those black tie events where Chicago's elite pretended to care about causes while networking over $12 cocktails. She worked in digital marketing for a boutique firm, though I noticed early on that her schedule seemed more flexible than most. The first time she canceled our wedding, it was 2 weeks before the ceremony in September 2021. We'd already put down an $11,000 deposit at the Palmer House Hilton, sent out invitations to 130 guests, and I'd paid another $6,000 for her wedding dress from a boutique on Oak Street. Her excuse: she needed more time to find herself and wasn't ready for such a big commitment. I was devastated, but I loved her. I understood. Or at least I convinced myself I did. If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and gripping plot twists, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new, unreleased stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. The second cancellation came 10 months later in July 2022. This time we'd booked the Chicago Botanic Garden for a summer ceremony. Another $9,000 deposit lost, plus the catering advance at Shaw's Crab House. Coraline's reason this time was that her mother had been diagnosed with breast cancer, and she needed to focus on family. I felt like a monster for even questioning it. I held her as she cried, covered her mother's medical expenses that insurance wouldn't pay, about $5,000 in co-pays and specialist visits, and told her we'd try again when she was ready. The third time should have been my wake-up call. We'd planned a smaller, more intimate ceremony at the Art Institute of Chicago for May 2023. I'd learned to keep the deposit smaller by then, only $6,000 this time. But when Coraline came to me 3 weeks before the date, claiming she was having panic attacks about commitment and needed therapy, something finally clicked. 3 weddings, 3 cancellations, $26,000 in lost deposits, not counting the engagement ring that had cost me 2.5 months' salary, $27,000. But it wasn't just the money. It was the pattern I was finally starting to see. During all these cancellations and delays, Coraline never stopped enjoying the perks of being my fiancée. She lived rent-free in my Lincoln Park condo, drove the Honda Civic I'd bought outright and titled in her name in early 2020, and maintained a lifestyle that would have required at least $85,000 annually. Money her sporadic marketing projects certainly weren't providing. She loves showing off her 2-carat engagement ring at the upscale bars in River North. Loved telling people about our upcoming wedding. Loved the status that came with being engaged to a successful Chicago professional. But she never actually wanted to be married to me. The 4th time she brought up postponing a wedding that we hadn't even begun planning yet, I knew something was seriously wrong. It was a Tuesday evening in June 2023. I'd come home from a long day analyzing quarterly earnings for our biggest client, a manufacturing firm based in Milwaukee. Coraline was on the couch, scrolling through her iPhone 12, when she casually mentioned that maybe we should wait until fall 2024 to start planning again. "I just think we should be more financially secure," she said, not even looking up from her screen. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was making $145,000 a year, had $68,000 in savings, and a retirement portfolio that was outperforming most of my colleagues. Meanwhile, she'd contributed exactly $0 to our household expenses in the past 3.5 years. That night, after she went to bed, I did something I'd never done before. I looked through her phone. I know it sounds like a violation of privacy, and maybe it was. But after 3 canceled weddings and nearly 4 years of financially supporting someone who seemed allergic to actually marrying me, I needed answers. Her passcode was predictable, 1125, her birthday in November, which I knew by heart because I'd been planning our lives together for years. What I found made my blood run cold. Text messages with someone named Rick M, going back 7 months. Not just friendly messages, intimate ones. Photos I won't describe in detail, but they weren't the kind of images you send to a colleague. The most recent exchange was from that morning. "Miss you already from last night. Thursday can't come fast enough." His reply, "Same here. Our usual spot at 7? I took screenshots of everything using my own phone, my hands trembling as I transferred the images to a password-protected folder on my laptop. Rick M wasn't some random guy. Based on their conversations, he was married with teenagers, lived in the suburbs, and worked downtown at a consulting firm. They'd been meeting regularly at a Hampton Inn in Schaumburg. The location tags and hotel booking confirmations in their messages made that clear. The worst part wasn't even the cheating, though that felt like a knife twisting in my chest. It was reading messages where she complained about having to play the happy fiancé with me, how she was just killing time, until she figured out what she really wanted. She called me predictable and boring. She joked about how easy it was to get me to pay for everything while she figured out her actual future. I sat in my home office until 3:30 in the morning, staring at the evidence on my screen. 16 years of dating various women, nearly 4 years with Coraline, and this was where it led. Screenshots of betrayal saved in a folder labeled documentation. But here's the thing about being a financial analyst. You learn to think systematically, not emotionally. You learn to assess situations objectively and develop strategies that maximize returns while minimizing losses. As I sat there in the darkness, listening to Coraline sleep peacefully in what I'd thought was our bed, I wasn't thinking about confronting her. I wasn't thinking about screaming or dramatic exits. I was thinking about how to protect my assets and ensure she faced appropriate consequences for her actions. The next morning I acted completely normal. Made coffee, kissed her goodbye, told her I loved her, all while knowing exactly what she'd been doing. She smiled and mentioned she might work late, possibly grab dinner with a college friend. I knew she was planning to meet Rick M. at that Hampton Inn. Instead of going straight to work, I drove to my attorney's office in the Loop. James Patterson had handled my condo purchase and various investment agreements over the years. He was a no-nonsense lawyer in his mid-50s who understood asset protection. "Asher, what brings you in today?" he asked as his assistant closed the door to his office. "I need to understand my legal exposure," I said. "I'm engaged but not married. We've cohabitated for almost 4 years. Some accounts are joint, but I own the condo and paid for her car outright. I want to know how to disentangle myself cleanly if necessary." James nodded without asking for specifics. That's what I appreciated about him. Professional discretion. He outlined my options methodically. Since we weren't married, and Illinois doesn't recognize common law marriage, I had significant flexibility. The car, being titled in her name and fully paid, was legally hers. The joint checking account could be closed with just my signature, as the primary account holder. The lease was solely in my name. "What timeline are you considering?" he asked. "Just want to understand all possibilities," I said. That same afternoon, I made another decision that would have seemed impossible a week earlier. I hired a private investigator. Sarah Chen operated a discreet investigation service from an office complex near O'Hare. I'd gotten her name from a colleague who'd used her during his messy divorce. She was professional, thorough, and reasonably priced. $1,300 for a comprehensive background check and surveillance package. "I need complete information on Richard Morrison," I told her, sliding a folder of printed screenshots across her desk. "And I need documented evidence of his relationship with my fiancée." Sarah reviewed the materials carefully, taking notes. "How detailed do you want this investigation?" "Everything. Employment history, family situation, financial background if accessible. And I need photographs that would be admissible in court if needed." Within a week and a half, Sarah delivered a comprehensive report. Richard Morrison, 42, senior consultant at Accenture, married to Jennifer Morrison for 16 years. 2 teenagers, a daughter who was a junior at Schaumburg High School and a son who was a freshman. They lived in a 4-bedroom colonial in Schaumburg, worth approximately $650,000. His LinkedIn presented him as a devoted family man, who posted photos from their annual vacations to the Wisconsin Dells. The surveillance photographs were devastating. Rick and Coraline entering the Hampton Inn together on 5 separate occasions in June and early July 2023. Coraline getting into his silver Camry, outside her marketing office. The two of them having intimate lunches at restaurants in Schaumburg and Arlington Heights, acting like a couple planning their future together. But the most valuable information was Jennifer Morrison's contact details. Sarah had located her Facebook profile, Instagram account, and workplace information. She was a bookkeeper for a small accounting firm in Elk Grove Village. While Sarah built my case, I quietly restructured my finances. I opened a new account at a different bank, Chase instead of Bank of America, and gradually redirected my direct deposit. I methodically transferred most of our shared savings to the new account, leaving just enough to avoid immediate suspicion. I updated beneficiaries on my retirement accounts and life insurance. I even rented a P.O. box in Des Plaines for mail forwarding. The hardest part was maintaining normalcy, coming home each evening to someone who was actively deceiving me, who was building a relationship with another man while living off my income. Some nights I'd lie awake listening to her breathe, wondering how someone could be so convincingly affectionate while planning their exit strategy. But I had a strategy too, and I was executing it step by step. The end game began on a Monday in mid-July 2023. Coraline announced she was visiting her college roommate in Milwaukee for the weekend, Thursday through Sunday. I'd heard variations of this story before, and Sarah's surveillance had revealed these friend visits aligned with Rick's business travel. This time would be different. I took Thursday and Friday as personal days, claiming a minor family emergency. Thursday evening I drove to the Hampton Inn in Schaumburg and confirmed both their vehicles in the parking lot. I took time-stamped photographs from multiple angles, including clear images of both license plates and the hotel entrance. That night, I drafted 2 letters. The first was to Jennifer Morrison. I kept it respectful but direct. Mrs. Morrison, I'm writing to inform you that your husband Richard has been having an affair with my fiancée, Coraline Carlisle, for at least 7 months. I've enclosed photographic evidence, text message screenshots, and documentation of their hotel meetings. I felt you deserved to know so you could make informed decisions about your marriage and family. I apologize for being the bearer of such painful news. The second letter was for Coraline. I know about Rick. I know about the hotels. I know about all of it, and I have documented everything. By the time you read this, our joint accounts will be closed, utilities will be scheduled for disconnection, and you'll have 30 days to find other housing. The car remains yours since it's in your name. You chose deception and financial exploitation over honesty and commitment. Now live with those choices. I printed both letters Friday night while Coraline was supposedly in Milwaukee. I packaged Jennifer's letter with copies of all evidence Sarah had collected, plus my own surveillance photos. Both letters were scheduled for certified delivery on Monday. Over the weekend, I executed the final phase. I transferred our entire joint savings, $49,000 representing years of careful financial planning, to my new Chase account. I contacted ComEd and Peoples Gas to schedule utility disconnections in 2 weeks. I prepared a formal 30-day notice to vacate, along with lease documentation showing I was the sole tenant. Monday morning, July 17, 2023, I woke up at 5:45 a.m. Coraline was still sleeping, allegedly tired from her drive back from Milwaukee. I looked at her one final time. This woman I'd supported emotionally and financially for nearly 4 years, and felt only cold determination. I arranged everything on the kitchen counter. The eviction notice, lease documentation, the empty engagement ring box with a receipt showing I'd returned it for full value, utility disconnection schedules, and her sealed letter explaining everything. By 6:45 a.m. I was driving west on Interstate 88, heading toward Denver and the new position I'd secretly accepted with a financial consulting firm there. The salary was comparable, $148,000 annually. But the cost of living was lower, and crucially, it was over 1,000 miles from Chicago. The certified letters would arrive that afternoon. I was at a gas station outside the Quad Cities filling up and buying coffee when my phone started buzzing. Coraline's name on the display. I let it go to voicemail. Then she called again, and again. By the time I crossed into Iowa, I had 18 missed calls and 12 voicemail messages. I listened to the first few out of curiosity. The emotional progression was textbook: confusion, anger, bargaining, panic. First message at 2:15 p.m. Asher, what's all this paperwork? Call me back, I don't understand. Fifth message at 3:42 p.m. This is insane. You can't just disappear. We need to talk. 10th message at 4:58 p.m. Please just call me. I love you. We can fix this. I deleted them all and blocked her number. Sarah called me that evening from my motel room in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Mission accomplished, she reported. Jennifer Morrison received the package at 2:30 p.m. She left work immediately, citing a family emergency. Neighbors observed a heated argument at the Morrison residence around 5 p.m. Rick's Camry was seen leaving with luggage at 6:45 p.m. Any word from Accenture? They received anonymous documentation about Rick's conduct. His LinkedIn changed to "Between opportunities this evening, so draw your own conclusions." I felt vindicated but also strangely hollow. Justice delivered, but at the cost of 4 years of my life. Over the following weeks, through mutual connections and social media, I learned about the aftermath. Coraline had scrambled for emergency housing when the utilities were actually shut off. Her part-time marketing income, maybe $1,200 monthly, couldn't cover Lincoln Park rent of $2,700. She'd moved back with her parents in Schaumburg, which felt particularly appropriate given her previous comments about adults who can't make it independently. Rick Morrison's life had collapsed entirely. Jennifer had shared the evidence broadly, with extended family, their social circle, and their children's school community. His consulting career was finished. Last I heard through professional networks, he was selling insurance in Crystal Lake. Denver proved perfect for starting over. I bought a 3-bedroom house in Lakewood for $420,000, less than half what I'd pay in Chicago. I adopted a rescue dog, a golden retriever mix named Scout, and discovered I genuinely enjoyed the solitude. My new colleagues appreciated my work ethic, and for the first time in years, I felt authentic. 13 months after leaving Chicago, in August 2024, I met Amanda at a weekend hiking group in the Rockies. She was a veterinarian, divorced for 3 years, with teenage twin sons and a refreshingly direct communication style. When I eventually shared my story, she listened thoughtfully and said something that resonated deeply. Some people view love as what they can extract. Others see it as what they can contribute. Amanda and I have been together for exactly 1 year now, as of August 2025. We moved in together this past May after 8 months of careful discussion about compatibility, financial goals, and future plans. She contributes equally to our shared expenses, makes decisions collaboratively, and has never asked me to fund anything beyond our reasonable means. We're engaged as of last month and planning a simple wedding next June. Just family and close friends. No elaborate deposits or potential cancellations. I rarely think about Coraline anymore, but when I do, it's with appreciation rather than resentment. She taught me that authentic love requires mutual honesty, shared sacrifice, and genuine commitment to building something together. She demonstrated that financial generosity without emotional reciprocity is just expensive enabling. Most importantly, she showed me that sometimes the most effective revenge isn't confrontation or public humiliation. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be exploited and creating a better life with someone who actually values what you bring to the relationship. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and leave a comment telling us what you thought. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and ring the notification bell to get alerts about new stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.